is Pukeology Podcast, where science meets your hilarious puke stories and the tips and tricks to stop that up-chuckle that you need.
You never know what's going to spew out of her mouth. Here's
my mama,
Dr. Pukeology.
Are you a little too sweet during your pregnancy? Your blood sugar is what I mean. Gestational diabetes affects around 7% of our U.S. population of pregnant women. So, how do you make sure that you decrease your chances of getting diabetes later on in life? If you're questioning any of these, this is what you need to know in today's episode of Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 30. Want no more morning sickness, pregnancy nausea, or how about no more headaches or migraines? Visit our sponsor, nomonausea.com, the only natural way to instantly stop your worst nausea, vomiting, or headaches now. Or just place your No More Nausea band on your baby registry for your delivery bag at Bye Bye Baby, or get it shipped for free in 2 days on Amazon as a Prime vendor. And your little ones are always taken care of with the first No More Nausea Kids, and get them sleeping comfortably now every night with No More Sleepless Nights Kids. Also found for small women's wrists now at your local CVS store. Pregnancy humor in this episode that may just make you want to pee your pants, like you don't have to pee all the time, with hilarious puke stories like cabin pressure puker. Man, oh man, can you imagine that drink? And even funnier, a barfing steak across the room. If you want to learn more about your pregnancy, humor and knowledge is the key to help you survive these 9 months. And just know we're in this together. Today, you will learn the science behind how gestational diabetes is defined, what you can do to decrease your risk, and some helpful eating plans to help you control your blood sugar during your pregnancy.
The science of puke, Pukeology.
Do you feel like you're carrying a huge baby? Well, it may feel that way for some, but for others, it might actually be concerned. Well, we're now in our 30th episode of Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, and I really did need to talk about what's huge. The size of your belly does not exactly correlate with the growth rate of your unborn baby, hence why we test for gestational diabetes between the ages of 24 gestational age, and 28th week of pregnancy. So again, between 24 and 28. Gestational diabetes occurs in 7% of all pregnancies, and it has been said that the number is underrepresented. If you've heard that you've had a 10-pound baby, or you've heard about somebody else having a 10-pound baby, unless Andre the Giant is his dad, you can pretty much assume that the mom had undiagnosed gestational diabetes just because of the enlarged size of the child. Gestational diabetes is a type of diabetes that is first seen during pregnancy that did not have diabetes before. Let me repeat that. Gestational diabetes is a type of diabetes that is first seen only during pregnancy, that you as a mom did not have diabetes in the first place. Diabetes is a condition in which a person develops high blood sugar levels, either caused from your pancreas not secreting enough insulin. Insulin, by the way, is what your body ends up utilizing to break down the sugar, or your body is insulin resistant, meaning that even though the signal of the hormone insulin goes out, your body just isn't listening to it. Insulin is a hormone that is made by the pancreas that allows your body to use sugar from carbohydrates that you eat, like bread, rice, etc. They use these carbohydrates for energy that's trapped inside of it, or they store it later for use so that your blood level of sugar doesn't get too high. Now, high blood sugar level is a big word called hyperglycemia. Moms who have never had diabetes will pass on that high sugar to the baby through the placenta with gestational diabetes. And of course, imagine if you're giving the baby more and more sugar, you're going to get some unwanted effects on the baby. So what's the big deal? It is a big deal. It is extremely alarming because of the following reasons. High blood sugar, if left untreated, can cause damage to the vessels that supply the blood to all the vital organs. Remember, in past episodes, I told you that your baby is receiving about 15% of blood supply, which means it's a little more than most of the organs that you're actually getting. So the blood that's going to the baby is actually equivalent to one of them going to your major organ systems. The only organ that gets more blood than the baby is your own brain. Hence why your body will increase the amount of blood volume or the amount of blood that you have during pregnancy. And that is the wonderful reason why we have those great enlarged swelling of the feet. And again, you may be sniffly and very stuffy during your third trimester. That's also because more blood flow. And again, you're not going to be able to get as much out of the smaller nose in which you breathe. If you want to learn more about what to expect when you're expecting by each trimester, just jump on over and listen to Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 20, Pregnancy Systems. You will literally learn way more than I think that you want to know, but again, I'm your favorite doc that's telling you all about it. Diabetes can also increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, kidney disease, vision problems, and nervous system issues. Have you ever heard of diabetic peripheral neuropathy? Whew, that was like a big word alert. That actually means that it is a long-term effect of diabetic patients who haven't controlled their blood sugar. So what happens is too much sugar is surrounding their nerves, and it doesn't allow these nerves to properly communicate. So this is why they can't feel their toes, their feet, their legs. So if they stub their toe, again, untreated diabetic patients, they may get it infected. The blood can't get down there. So again, they could potentially lose a limb, which is a very serious issue, based off of a little cut or something that was, at the beginning, very small for most of us. Now, a little bit different for gestational diabetes, it is transient, meaning that it only occurs during pregnancy. But if you have gestational diabetes, which we shorten GDM, you have a 50% chance of developing type 2 diabetes later on in life. That is an alarming rate. So half of you with gestational diabetes might have diabetes later on in life, so start learning to eat better now. Gestational diabetes complications really do affect your baby. They are huge children at birth. Yes, you do not want to push out a watermelon-sized child. This excessive birth weight is due directly to the extra glucose that's crossing the placenta. This triggers your baby's pancreas to make more insulin of its own. This increase in hormone can also result in early preterm birth, and just because the baby looks big does not mean that their lungs are fully developed. Hence why a lot of gestational diabetes moms can experience respiratory distress syndrome in their babies, low blood sugar, also called hypoglycemia in the babies, and these children are prone to having type 2 diabetes later on in life. You will be tested for gestational diabetes during your mid-20th week, like we said before, 24th to about 28th week, either by a glucose challenge test, the oral glucose tolerance test, or both. Warning, the glucose they give you, which is kind of like this shot of really super sweet stuff, is disgusting. I personally don't like super sweet things, or I didn't during my pregnancy, and I feel like it tasted like a melted bunch of Starburst, so it was super gross. Again, I would wear my no-nausea-band, again, to know that you just won't puke, especially when they give you this substance. Remember that, again, if you took it during morning sickness and you utilized it, you might as well take it during your second trimester, just in case for this reason. The combination of not eating and tasting, drinking nasty stuff makes a lot of women very nauseated. So again, just pull it out from when you were using your morning sickness and throw on that no-nausea band to make sure that you don't puke out Starburst, bright red color all over your OBGYN. So what is the glucose challenge test? This is also named, by the way, the glucose screening test, just in case you hear it that way. A healthcare provider will end up drawing your blood 1 hour after you drink this sweet liquid containing glucose. You don't have to fast for this test. Again, fasting is the act of not eating or drinking anything before the visit. So again, you do not have to fast for the glucose screening test. If your blood glucose is too high, which is above 140, you will need to return to do an oral glucose tolerance test while fasting. That means nothing to eat or drink before that visit. So again, if it's above 140, you got to come back. If your blood glucose sugar comes back at 200 or more, you have type 2 diabetes. Notice that I said you and not your pregnancy have type 2 diabetes. And it's not just because you're pregnant if it comes back soaring high at 200s. So what is the glucose tolerance test, the OGTT? This test measures your blood glucose after you fast, so nothing to eat or drink, for at least 8 hours before. So your blood will be drawn by a medical professional. Then you will drink a liquid containing glucose, kind of like the same thing you just did before. But ladies, make this appointment very early. And I say that because you will be there continuously drawing blood. So once you go and have your blood drawn fasting, then you will need to have your blood drawn every hour for 2 to 3 hours. A high blood glucose level at any of the 2 or more means that you have gestational diabetes. The gestational diabetes diagnosis requires the following blood glucose values. And again, this will also be up on our website on the blog, nomenage.com/blog/health and wellness. But if you're curious, again, here are the diagnosis of gestational diabetes. 1 hour glucose screening test that we talked about before with only 50 grams of sugar. Your blood is drawn, no fasting required. If it's greater than 140, you have to come back. 3 hour OGTT, which is also your glucose tolerance test, you do have to fast. You will have your blood drawn, and if it is above 95, again, signaling that you have gestational diabetes. 1 hour after, if it's at 180, 2 hours after above 155, and 3 hours after above 140. The moral of the story is you really don't want to be diagnosed with gestational diabetes. So please make sure that you talk to your healthcare provider, you talk to your OBGYN, and that you get explicit instructions, because if you do eat when you're supposed to be fasting, that will naturally increase your sugar and you could have a false positive, meaning that you could be diagnosed even though that you truly don't have it. Now that you know the numbers, let's get to some more hilarious puke stories.
Throwing up on a Tuesday? One puke story.
The worst was barfing in the seat of an airplane. I don't know what it is about the takeoff, from Arctic temperatures before we take off to me sweating horribly bad once we get into the air. It gets super hot. Well, I was having a first trimester hot flash and my seat lacked a puke bag. I was frantically searching for it, so instead I threw up inside my computer bag because it was the first thing that I had. It was by far the grossest throw up of my life. The person next to me was completely appalled. Thanks, Jill from Orlando. That definitely gave me some hilarious recollection of being on a plane and being very nauseous myself. I hate that no one told me that the sugar drink I needed to take on an empty stomach was going to taste so terrible. I have hated sweet things during this pregnancy, and I was with my husband when he said, well, just take it like a shot. The second it hit the back of my throat, it came back up violently. He saw it coming and offered his hands, which I ended up using. Aw, it was so cute and sweet, but so super gross. He hasn't looked at a sweet tart in a very long time. Thanks, Allie Ramson, for that hilarious puke story. Do you know what red meat looks like coming back up? Ew. If you've never had the pleasure of barfing steak, let me let you in on a little secret. It feels the same coming back up as it does going back down. We were at a barbecue and I had an aversion to meat, but I was, again, tried to eat some in the afternoon because I was starving. Once I put a lot in my mouth and swallowed it quickly, finished half of the steak before I realized the baby must be a vegetarian. What's worse is I didn't know where the bathroom was because it was somebody else's house. So I puked in the bushes and the host asked my husband if I liked the steak. Thanks, Janie Jacobs, for that hilarious puke story. Do you have a hilarious puke story you cannot wait to share with us? Please send it to me. Pukeology, Pukeology at nomonausea.com, or just tweet us at Pukeology so we can all have a good laugh.
Tips and tricks to stop the up-chuckle that you need.
You don't have to be super sweet when you have gestational diabetes. I mean your blood sugar, of course, because we all know we're super sweet when we're pregnant, right? Wink, wink. Here are some ideas to help you control your blood sugar and, as a result, the blood sugar of the baby. So number 1, gestational diabetes diet tricks that really help to level your sugars. And this is great, ladies, also for when you're trying to get your post-baby body back. Number 1, eat small snacks between your meals and try to eat smaller meals. So 2 snacks, 1 in between each of your 3 meals. They always say you should break it up into at least eating 5 to 6 times a day. 2, eat a reasonable portion of starches and carbohydrates. Try bunless burgers using lettuce instead, like a lettuce wrap. Or again, think about having only a spoonful of mashed potatoes instead of eating the entire side. Get the taste, the flavor, without all the excess carbs. 3, try 1 cup of milk at a time. Remember that milk, lactose is what it's derived down into, is a sugar. So you might want to try soy if you love drinking milk, or almond milk, because those both are protein-based. Limit your fruit. Again, fruit is good for you, don't get me wrong, but it breaks down into fructose, which is a sugar. Make snack-sized bags of fruit so you don't eat the entire fruit. Instead, you only eat a handful of grapes instead of the whole bag. Fruit is better than sweets, but remember, everything is good in moderation. Number 5, breakfast is a must. I'm sure that you've heard breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, it is, because you have all day to burn off those calories and all day for your body to utilize the sugar. If it doesn't use it, it gets stored. And we all know that fat cells can be created, but they can never be destroyed unless you do that cool sculpting thing. Again, ladies that are pregnant, absolutely not. But remember, you work so hard to shrink these fat cells down to size for decreased storage of sugar, but you can never get rid of them ever again once they pop up and multiply. So again, get that post-baby weight back, and the only way that you're going to do it is by eating higher calorie things in the morning so that you have all day to burn it off. Number 6, avoid fruit juices. Naturally flavor your water. So squeeze a little bit of lemon, lime, or cucumber. Let it sit in your water, and it tastes delicious too. Add artificial sweeteners instead, like Splenda, Sunnet, Equal, NutraSweet have all been approved for pregnancy consumption during your entire pregnancy journey. Again, I'm not a big artificial person anyway. I would rather sweeten other things with, small amounts of honey or something that's much more natural. Don't trust the label. All right, number 8, ladies, is something that we need to do. When something says sugar-free, it's not always what it actually says. Read the back, because mannitol, maltitol, sorbitol, xylitol, and isomalt are all alcohol sugars. So again, they're still sugars in the end, so read the number of carbohydrates. That is the winning ticket. If you take nothing else from it, read the label and make sure that the low number of carbohydrates, or that it's nothing. If it is truly sugar-free, it should be 0. Some sugar-free items that are truly sugar-free are diet sodas and sugar-free Jell-O. I always tell all my gestational diabetes patients that you can have what I call a half, a fourth, and a fourth plate. So what does that mean? Half of your plate with non-starchy vegetables like asparagus, bean sprouts, bell peppers, broccoli, cauliflower, cucumber, edamame, mushrooms, spinach. I can take a breath now. A full list can be found on our actual blog, and so that you don't have to write all of these things down. And they have a really cute little graphic so that you remember that half of your plate is non-starchy vegetables. A fourth of your plate is proteins, like animal meats, chicken, steak, ground beef. Beans are also full of proteins, eggs, seafood, seeds, or even tofu. And make the last 1/4 your carbs, like brown rice, corn, peas, lentils, oats, plantains, potatoes, quinoa, fruits, or 100% whole wheats. I always say, eat this and not that. So think of sprouted toast instead of white bread. Think of zoodles, zucchini noodles, which they come in these really cute little things, the kitchen gadgets, that actually will do it for you. So you can do with that with zucchini, with squash, a whole bunch of different things, even with carrots actually. So you can make noodles, things that taste like noodles, and then of course dress it as normal on top. Make your own dressings. So instead of using these high calorie dressings that you'll find in the grocery store, make some stuff with lemons, peppers, some olive oil, vinegar. I mean, there's so many delicious ways of seasoning food without using high calorie and high carb items. Remember that seafood is your friend. It gives you tons of omegas, will keep you fuller longer, but even more importantly, it is good and there's no carbs in seafood. Cauliflower can be used instead of rice. It's actually, by the way, delicious also, so try it out. Give it a shot. It tastes delicious and it has the same consistency. Coming from a Hispanic female, it's absolutely delicious. And I was surprised that I didn't have so bad of a time substituting quinoa or cauliflower as long as it was seasoned well. They even make pizza crust out of cauliflower now. So there's so many different incredible products that are out there to help you to keep your blood sugar low. So try them out and get a list of great snacks that you might want from our Pregnancy Pukeology podcast, episode 16, what you should be eating in pregnancy. Think of it kind of like your snacks calendar ideas for the perfect pregnancy diet. Remember, the health of your baby is dependent on what you put in your mouth, how active you are. So find a tribe, walk and talk, or just get out there and be active. I bet your food encouragers will be right there by your side, walking it out to give you the healthiest way to have a baby while you have gestational diabetes. Now that you know the science behind what is gestational diabetes, how it's actually diagnosed, and what things that you can do and substitute for that 1/2, 1/4, 1/4 plate, and also some great snack ideas, you are up for a better way of having a pregnancy full of food joy, even with gestational diabetes. I hope this true clinical knowledge will give you the answers that you are looking for and the best information that there is to date of pregnancy. If you love me and Pregnancy Pukeology podcast, let me know. Give me a 5-star rating or some hearts for likes. Don't forget to download this episode, but more importantly, share it with all your prego friends. Thanks again for listening to Pregnancy Pukeology podcast, episode 30, Gestational Diabetes and How to Stay Less Sweet in All That You Eat.
Pukeology Podcast, edutainment at its finest.